Hey, what's up everybody, it's Mikexingchen. When people die, they leave behind many things. Some leave legacies, some leave mysteries, and some really messed up people leave cursed objects. Many of these terrifying objects have brought great misfortune to their owners, manifesting themselves in financial and health woes, crazy hauntings, and even death. And it's not like when people find these supposedly cursed objects, they go and destroy them right away. Nope, they decide the best thing to do with something that brings around the misery and death is just to keep it and sometimes put it in a museum so more people can see what a spawn of Satan actually looks like. So here are some of the most terrifying cursed objects that are still around today. Number 1, Thomas Busby's chair. Let me ask you guys, do you have a favorite chair maybe in your house or a local coffee shop? Now, do you love that chair so much you would consider cursing it so that after you die, no one else can sit on it without dying? Probably not, right? Because you're not crazy. Well, that's apparently what Thomas Busby did in 1702, right before he was executed for strangling his father-in-law to death for, sitting in his chair. I mean, you would think this was the Osaki OS 4000 zero gravity massage recliner or something, but keep in mind, this was 1702 and the chair is just a typical wooden chair. And in a pub no less. So did the wood somehow contour to Crazy Tom's butt? I don't know. But this man really loved this chair. He loved it so much that his final request was to stop at the pub he frequented before he went to the gallows. Inside the pub, Crazy Tom cursed his own chair, saying that anyone who sat in the chair other than he would die a sudden and horrible death. The story became pub legend, and some patrons would dare each other to sit on the chair of death. And they really shouldn't have, because those men who sat in the chair and then went off to fight in World War II never returned from battle. And supposedly everyone who has ever sat in the chair has died shortly after. This even includes a cleaning woman who accidentally fell into it while mopping. Eventually, the chair claimed enough lives for it to be placed far away from the bar. Today, this chair hangs 5 feet off the ground at the Thirsk Museum in North Yorkshire, England, so that no person would ever fall claim to this butt curse ever again. You know, if this chair is really cursed and if I was a professional assassin or hitman, I would somehow buy or steal this chair because that would make my job so much easier. So instead of all that assassination work where I have to scope out the target and then put my life on the line, I just invite him over for tea and be like, come in, have a seat. Number 2, the crying boy. Italian artist Giovanni Bragolin painted a picture of a super creepy crying boy that somehow became very popular in the 1950s and had many prints made. And you know why the boy is crying? Because there's one thing creepier than a creepy little boy, and that's a crying creepy little boy. Because that's what happens when you run into a little ghost kid. They're usually crying because they want you to feel sympathy, they want you to get close to them, to ask them what's wrong. That's when they kill you. Anyway, in 1985, a British newspaper reported that a print of this painting was in a home that burned down in a fire, and the painting was the only thing that escaped unharmed. And apparently, there are dozens of stories regarding the painting and tragic fires both before and after this article, where in each case the painting was the only thing that survived the flames. In a BBC Radio 4 production called Punt PI, Steve Punt, a British writer and comedian, investigated the curse of the crying boy. Although the program is meant to be funny, it still researched the history of the crying boy painting, reaching the conclusion that the prints were coated with varnish containing fire repellent, and that's why it didn't burn, but it could not explain why no other paintings treated with similar varnish escaped the flames. That's because they weren't coated with evil. Now, my only question is, why would so many people want to hang a picture of a sobbing kid on their walls in the first place? Do people just want to wake up and be in a bad mood? What a lovely day. The sun is shining, I'm feeling great. Well, time to go take a look at that crying boy painting and embrace that miserable feeling. Number 3, the Bok Box. In 2001, a man named Kevin Manis purchased a wine cabinet on eBay and immediately started having terrible nightmares, as did the people around him. Then, being the good son that he is, decided to give the cabinet from hell to his mother, who then suffered a stroke on the same day she received it. Each owner since then has reported horrible events upon coming in possession of the cabinet. Its last owner, Jason Haxton, developed a strange skin disease among other medical conditions. The origins of the box were traced back to a Holocaust survivor and is believed to be possessed by the Bok, a restless, usually malicious spirit in Jewish mythology, believed to be able to haunt and possess the living. Upon learning Following this, Haxton contacted Ghostbusters. No, he actually contacted his local rabbis who sealed the dubuque back in the box and then hid it away from the world. I mean, why? Why hide it? It's made out of wood. You know what, Jason? Next time you go camping, throw some sulfur on it, light it on fire, and roast some marshmallows. You get to have some fun and destroy the cabinet from hell. You know what? I bet evil infused s'mores taste awesome. Number 4, not all cursed objects are super old and creepy looking. For example, James Dean's car. Friends of his told actor James Dean that the car was trouble when they first saw it. A rare silver Porsche Spyder, one of only 90 in 1955, nicknamed the Little Bastard, customized by George Barris, the designer of the Batmobile. James Dean was driving the cursed car and was involved in a fatal car accident on September 30th, 1955. He was only 24 at the time. Soon, it became apparent that the car might possibly be cursed. After the crash, Barris purchased the wreckage of the car and sold off the engine and chassis to Troy McHenry and William Estrid, 2 doctors who also loved racing. Then he sold the 2 surviving tires to a young New Yorker. Now here's all the crazy things that has happened since then. On October 21st, 1956, the 2 doctors went racing with their cars customized from the Little Bastard's parts. First, McHenry's Porsche Spyder spun out of control and hit a tree, killing him instantly. Estrid was also seriously injured when his car rolled going around a curve in the race. The 2 tires that were sold to the young New Yorker reportedly blew simultaneously, sending the car hurtling into a ditch. A souvenir seeker ripped his arm open on jagged metal while attempting to steal the steering wheel from the stored wreckage. While housing the car, a Fresno, California garage caught fire, destroying everything except for the Spyder's remains. 2 separate fatal accidents involving trucks transporting the Spyder occurred in 1958, and a 3rd transport truck was parked on a hill and then smashed the windshield of the car behind it when the brakes mysteriously gave out. Number 5, the cursed gem. This stone was stolen during the rebellion out of the temple of Indra in Kanpur, India way back in 1857, and ever since it's done nothing but strike bad luck and misfortune in the lives of the people that have owned it. Colonel W. Ferris, a cavalryman, was allegedly the first man to own the stone after it left India. Almost immediately after returning to England, he lost basically everything he owned, and his health even began to deteriorate. Ferris then willed the stone to his son, who had similar problems, so much so that he gave the stone to a friend who then committed suicide. In 1890, a man named Edward Heron Allen came to possess the stone without knowing about his past. After facing some tragedies of his own, he gave it to a friend who inquired about it. It was returned to him after this friend was overwhelmed by every possible disaster. He then gifted the gem to another friend who happened to be a singer. She also gave it back after losing her voice and attributing it to the stone. She never sang again. I don't think this guy really liked his friends that much. It finally occurred to Heron Allen that maybe the common denominator was the gemstone, so he locked it in a bank vault with the request that it not be removed until 3 years after his death. So in 1943, the stone was removed from the safe by his daughter, who was very aware of its curse. She didn't try to keep it or give it to a friend. She sent it away to a museum with a word of caution. And today, the stone sits in the vault of the National History Museum in London. Number 6, the Mori warrior masks. The Mori warriors of New Zealand lived long ago and used to carve out masks before heading into battle. According to the Mori belief, any man who died in battle left his soul behind in one of the masks. Oddly, although the masks seemed to pose no threat to men, it was found that over time, women who were pregnant that came close to the masks suffered complications or other unfortunate events. Several of the masks exist in a museum in New Zealand today, but are displayed with a warning that women who are expecting should not come close to the masks for their own safety and the safety of their child. Number 7, Iceman. No, not this guy. Discovered in 1991 in the Alps of Italy, the mummy of Otzi, aka the Iceman, is believed to be a man who lived around 3000 BC. His body was preserved by a glacier that surrounded him after he died of exposure. But after he was on Earth, the people linked to his discovery began to die. All 7 deaths, including the forensic pathologist Rainer Hen, who died in a horrific car accident en route to give a speech about the Iceman, mountaineer Kurt Fritz, who died in an avalanche, and hiker Helmut Simon, who discovered the Iceman, died during a hike with his wife after falling from a dangerous hidden path. Number 8, the Anguished Man painting. Sean Robinson always felt mysteriously drawn to a painting called the Anguished Man as a kid, and would stare at it for hours in his basement where it had been hidden by his grandmother grandmother. Okay, there's your first clue. Word of advice, if you ever feel like you're mysteriously drawn to any non-living organism that is not bacon or some other form of delicious food item, then you need to holy fire that stuff. Anyway, after his grandmother died, Chen inherited the painting from her and decided to hang the painting on the wall, despite several arguments about it with his obviously much smarter wife. This is literally how 80% of horror movies start. The house that Chen lived in started experiencing bizarre paranormal events. Doors cracking in the middle of the night, followed by blood-curdling screams that seemed to be coming from nowhere. But the most horrifying experience of all was the nightmares that each and every member of the family had every night since they hung the painting up. When Chen and his family could take it no more, they decided to investigate the painting's origin and found out that the artist who painted the anguished man committed suicide. But before he took his own life, he mixed his blood with the oil paint that he used for the painting. Upon learning this fresh bit of creepy information, Chen took the painting down, but it still resides in his basement. Yeah, because that's where you should put all evil things, is basements, because nothing bad ever happens in a basement. You know, I think every horror movie I've ever seen, everybody who's been to the basement, they come back really happy. Oh, and there are people all around the world who are actually trying to buy that horrendous piece of work, to which Chen has said, I can guarantee you that the original haunted painting is locked away in a secure location. He also said that I have no intentions of selling it. That could be dangerous, and it would not be wise for anyone to lay their hands on the painting because it is really active, and really strange things happen for people who are in the same room or even in the same house with the painting. You know, this is what I don't get. I think as human beings, we are either getting braver or just dumber. I mean, back in ancient times when people were wiping their butts with communal sponges and pine cones, yeah, that happened. A time when at the age of 7, Spartan boys were removed from their families to begin military training. A time when Japanese samurais would cut out their own guts just to say, I'm sorry. My point is, people were really tough back then, but if you mention that something was cursed, everyone will be scared and immediately want to burn it. Be it houses, objects, people, but nowadays we keep it locked up in our basements and show it off in museums, and people actually want to own things that might be cursed. Like that chair in those paintings, I would chop it up, burn it, give it to the Winchesters, whatever. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you would ever own something that you might suspect is cursed. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See ya.